There are a few ways to host a TeamSpeak 6 server. You have options such as, but not limited to, renting hosted servers through TeamSpeak or through cloud machines. But in this video, we'll focus on a free self-hosting option through Docker on both Windows and Linux. Let's get started. We're going to start on Windows first. So let's go to Google and type in Docker Desktop. Once you're on Docker Desktop, it's going to go over everything on how to install and stuff to that effect. You should see on Docker Desktop, there should be one where it says install Docker Desktop for Mac, Windows, or Linux at the very bottom. You click on clearly Windows, but if you're also doing it on Mac, I don't have a Mac, so sorry, you came to the wrong tutorial. So install Docker Desktop for Windows. This button right here is the one that you want to install. Of course, there's one through Microsoft Store or through ARM, but I don't have any of that. I'm just going to be doing it through my regular desktop. So go ahead and click on Docker Desktop for Windows and have it installed. And once it's installed, open it up. When you have Docker Desktop opened up, it's not going to look something like this, because the first thing you're going to do is you're going to have to log in, I believe, or you could skip it, either or. I didn't skip it just in case you might need to do something with your account. So I just created an account, so there shouldn't be any issues in that sense. But you could skip it also. But whenever you do have it, you should be here where it says WSL needs updating. So this error basically just says your version of the Windows subsystem for Linux is too old. So run the command below. You copy it at the very bottom of Docker Desktop. There is a terminal. You click on it and you can pull it up easily right there. Paste it in, enter. You get this code saying host process for Windows services. Just click yes. And then it's going to be installing the Windows subsystem. A few things to note for the Windows is I've never used this one, but I'm also learning it right now. The fact that I'm learning it and going to teach it, it's pretty easy. Docker in general is easy. So in the end, you should see something like Windows subsystem for Linux has been installed. That's what you wanted. So we'll just go ahead and click on the X. I click to try again. Boom. This is the dashboard for Docker Desktop. So there's two things you have to know: your image and your container. A container simulates the image in an environment or a virtual machine essentially, but it's basically simulated. So you need to have the image. In this case, back to Google, we have to go to the TeamSpeak 6 server GitHub. So what we're going to want to do is underneath here is going to say image. You want to grab the image text. So copy that. Head back over to Docker Desktop and let's go to images. We'll do search images to run. Paste it in and you should see the first one that comes up. You want to do the latest and then pull. Once it's pulled, it should be already downloaded in your images section, so it should look like something like this. Before we set up the Docker image, we need to first go to your local disk or your C drive, and you need to create a Docker folder. It doesn't matter what it is, just go ahead, click new, create a new folder, and just label it Docker. Once you create the Docker folder, you need to go ahead and open it, and I labeled it TS6. When you create that folder, open it up. And then you want to create 3 new folders, all labeled as is, database, files, and logs. Once you're done with this, then let's head back to Docker Desktop. Whenever you click on the play button or run, it will bring up this run a new container. You want to click on optional settings because we have to change a few things. The first thing is you want to fill out a lot of the information. Then follow what I had typed in for my ports. They were 10,022. I had to type in 10,022. All of this has to be symmetrical. Next thing is for the volumes. So whenever you add your volumes, you're going to see the 3 dots. You want to go ahead and click on it. And it's going to be what you had just created. You want to click on Docker. And click on your TS6 server or TS6 or whatever you label it. And then select folder. After that, you want to create the container path. The /var/ts server. And then once you have that done, go to environment variables. Again, all of this will be down in the description, so you can just copy and paste it quite easily from the video. So ts server _ license _ accepted, and then the value being accept, and then go ahead and click run. Once you have it created, it should look something like this. Don't leave it yet because this is very important information. The one that you want is at the very bottom where it says important also server admin privilege key created. That token is what gives you server admin privileges on your server. So make sure you keep that, copy, paste it in the notepad. Just have it because we will be using that later for our server. To know that you've done it successfully, first off, you won't have any issues. But secondly, you're going to have this containers. When you go to containers, you're going to see that it's green and it's active, and it was just started 4 minutes ago. So what we have to do is try and determine who is your ISP. This goes for both Windows and Linux, so it doesn't matter which one you are. You have to determine who your ISP is because we had to log into the router information. So you can do this via Ethernet or wirelessly. Either or, what we need to do is figure out what your IP address is. So I know my ISP is AT&T. The most common one is 192.168.1.254. So I would use that to type that. I would grab that IP address, so I'd copy it and I'd type it into the address bar, let's just say in another tab. So once you figure out who your ISP address is, you want to go ahead and log into it. So it's because mine is AT&T, I log into my credentials, or I log into my router through the internet, and it looks something like this. We're going to go ahead and go to firewall. I don't know how yours is going to look like. Everyone's is going to look different, but you want to try and get to firewall, and under firewall go to NAT/gaming. This is where you're going to set up the port forwarding. Typically yours would probably be labeled as port forwarding. Anywhere that's labeled port forwarding is what we're going to be looking at. Mine is going to look entirely different, and I'll have out my services blocked out with the ports just because I have other ports. But for the TeamSpeak 6, you'll see that I already have 2 of them open. We're going to go ahead and do custom services down here for me. Again, yours is going to look entirely different. Try and do it to the best of your ability with what it looks relatively. So the service name, you can label it TS6 TCP, which you don't have to, but why not? It'd probably be easier for you. And then for the TCP, this is where you would have to remember your information from before, but we have a reference such as it was 30033 before, so the TCP has to follow what it was before. So the host port, the global range port is going to be just 3033, and the base host port is 30033. So literally just that. And I can change my protocol, so I want to change it to TCP. It has to be this because you want to, at least that I'm aware of, I've been able to do it like this the entire time and I haven't had any issues. But whenever you add it, it's a service. You have to enable that service. This is the most common thing that a lot of people forget. So that's basically what I have set up for the service entry. Just go ahead and add it. And then once it's done being added, you have to go back and then enable it. So I have it wiped just so we can get a base reference of how to add it. We want to select what you created for services. So we created TCP and UDP protocols. So we click on what we created, the TS6 TCP, and now you have to select a device. So we're going to select the device that's going to be opening these ports. So the device that I'm using, or you're probably going to be using, is going to be your computer. So hopefully your router is able to pick up your computer's name, because if it's not, you have to know your IP address. So pretty easy. I'll have it in the description, but I'll just do it real quick. And once you type in ipconfig, which again I'll have all this in the description down below, you're gonna see what your IP version 4 address is, and then whatever that is, that's your IP address. So if your name doesn't display, follow your IP address. Since my name is displayed, I'm going to go ahead and select it. And once you've done that for your TCP protocol, just do it for the UDP also. And you want it to be for the same device, again, as I'd mentioned before. But once it's done, that is basically it. So the last of what you need is your public IP. So be very careful with who you share this with, because your public IP, you have to give this to only your closest friends. And this is for the self-hosting option, of course. So how do you do it, or how do you know what your public IP is? You go to Google and you type in, what is my public IP? Of course, I'm not going to display it, but once you grab your public IP address, it'll tell you what your public IP is. Just copy it, and then we're going to use that for our login to the TeamSpeak server. If you have your public IP address, you can share this with your friends also or whatever, but don't concern yourself with, oh, I'm concerned that someone might hack in. That's what we're going to talk about in the latter half of this video. But right now, paste it into the search, or the top left-hand side where it says search/connect, and boom, you should be connected to it. So pretty simple. The top left-hand side where it says, is this your TeamSpeak server? You click on the down arrow, and then it will ask for the privilege key. So you type in that token, apply, and boom, now I have server admin privileges. So now you can do whatever you want with the server, and you can add channels, create channels. There's just so much to talk about with it. Now, another thing also, make sure you bookmark your server. So after you bookmark it, it'll show up by your bookmarks and that you created the TeamSpeak 6 server. So if you leave it, boom, it's right there ready for you. You just click on it and you can just connect to it. If you're a Linux user, this part is for you. I use the Linux distro Ubuntu Noble version 24.04.4 LTS. I'm running this in a virtual machine, so there are limitations that I face. First, Google Ubuntu Docker Desktop. Your page should look something similar to this. Now follow what I am doing on screen, as our focus isn't to run Docker Desktop since there is an issue with the GUI not working on this version of Ubuntu. Now open up your terminal, and I suggest having the Docker Desktop web page screen split with your terminal, as we will be copying and pasting commands. Firstly, we have to do the prerequisite command. Once you paste it into the terminal, you will have to type in your system admin password just this one time. And after that, you may be prompted to install more, and it will say Y or N. Type Y into the terminal and press enter until it is completed. Next, scroll down under the install Docker Desktop section, and on step 2, there's a hyphenated text that says deb or DEB package. Go ahead and click on that and download the Docker Desktop file. Once downloaded, go to your downloads folder where you see it, and then move the file into the root directory, either by copying, cutting, or moving the file like so. Then go ahead and follow step 3 for Docker Desktop by copying the entire command and pasting it into the terminal like so. When that is finished, on the left hand side on the web page, click on the tab labeled Docker Engine, as this is our next focus. Either use the subtabs on the left hand side to click on Ubuntu, or scroll down on the web page until you find the platforms and essential text. Choose Ubuntu, go to the uninstall old versions section and copy this command to remove old Docker dependencies that may cause confliction. When that is complete, scroll down some more and find the section labeled Installing using the apt repository, and copy the commands that are under steps 1 and 2. Since I already have it installed, mine will be showing issues that I have conflicting values set. And that's fine, because once we are finished with all of that, scroll all the way down to where you will run the command sudo docker run hello world. The terminal should be telling you that it appears to be working correctly. For Ubuntu, the terminal will be how we run the server. Now, I didn't showcase this next part on the screen, but it will be labeled in the description, always running upon boot for Linux. The first command is to have the Docker engine run when you first boot every time, and the second command is used to create the TeamSpeak 6 server. And then once you are done with both of these, you should be told that the latest image was pulled, and the next important step is to type this next command to pull important logs that we need to go through. When you see the logs, we are looking for a token key underneath the second important message. This token needs to be saved either on text document, screenshot, photo, because you need to copy this token into our TeamSpeak 6 server, so you may have server admin privileges. And there you have it. You have successfully created a TeamSpeak 6 server on Ubuntu. The next step is to port forward your ports publicly so your friends may join. Go to the 5-minute 3-second mark of the video, or go to the chapter titled Port Forwarding is Required to continue the process. Now that we used Windows and Ubuntu, the next thing for me, at least, if you have UGOS Pro, which is a NAS or Ugreen's NAS, this is their operating system. So I will have some things blurred out, but if you are unfamiliar with the web UI, basically you can log into your web UI either through your network, or if you're familiar with it. You can also do it through your phone, but it's easier if you do it through desktop, is just because of the page. Alright, so I have mine customized, but if you don't have Docker already on your UGOS, just go ahead, go to your App Center and just look for it. It has its own dedicated, created by them, by Ugreen themselves, and also they worked with Docker, so the team with Docker. Anyhow, mine's not updated, but I can still open it up. But whenever you have it opened up, you should see something similar to this interface. Back to what we talked about in the Windows. If you didn't watch the Windows portion, it's pretty simple how we're going to do this. On UGOS, it's actually kind of easy with the project format. So if you do create for the project, it's going to create a YAML or a YAML. Go back to the TeamSpeak 6 server GitHub. We'll scroll down to the portion under Run the Server with Docker, and we will be using the second portion for where it says more persistent setups. Again, all this will be down in the description, and basically just copy and paste all of this. As you see it right here, just copy it and then go back to the project. We're going to name this project TeamSpeak 6 tutorial, which yours is, you can name it whatever. I have mine actually labeled for TS6. So we do need that storage path. So whenever you have it, just create one under, at least mine is under Docker and it's shared with my wife. So we're just going to go ahead and just start the process. So we copy everything that we have from the GitHub, and then we move it over here and we'll paste it. So that's what it's going to look like. You just click deploy at the very bottom right hand side, and it's going to have a deployment log where it's going to talk about, just say it's created, you click OK, and boom. Now that the project is working, this is basically, it downloaded the image, so you don't have to worry about going online or anything. This is literally the easiest method that I have done. Now, once it's created, go to logs, and your logs are going to look different. You're probably going to have like an important information, 2 sections of importance, and I'm going to show you what either Windows or the Ubuntu version looked like, but it's all the same in the end. You're going to see what you need to get. There's 2 pieces of information. It's going to be the API key or the token at the very bottom. Now, I suggest taking a screenshot or copying and pasting all this into a text document and saving it just in case if you lose it. You will need that token at the very bottom, so you can have server admin privileges. Either you can use it or you can give it to someone else, but either or, it's just to have that server. Now that you have all that information saved, the next thing is to open or port forward, which is pretty easy, and I've talked about it whenever I was doing the Windows. So I'm going to put the timestamp for you to go watch that portion on how to set up port forwarding. It's going to be really easy. It's going to be different for everyone. That's the biggest thing, but follow that timestamp and you won't have any issues, because you will end up at the same location for how we terminate the process. That's basically the only thing that's different. This is basically the end of it for UGOS Pro. My TeamSpeak 6 server is going to show up that I already created one. That's why if I even created another project, it's just going to still bring up the same TeamSpeak 6 servers. All in all, that is everything for Ubuntu, Windows, and UGOS Pro. So now, of course, everyone is going to have different questions and concerns. Please forward that with me. I will gladly go over everything with you all. Just make sure you bookmark your server. That is the biggest thing, because if you don't bookmark it, it's just not going to be in your best favor, especially if you set up a password. You'll be having to type that password in every single time, so do keep that in mind. If you bookmark it and you create a password, you bypass the password if you have it bookmarked. So biggest thing in that regards, you don't have to concern yourself with, if you type in a password every single time just to join the server, it's just more encryption at the end of the day. Of course, you could do other things with this. You can right click it, you can go to you can edit, bookmark the details, change the status. You can create a lot more things. You can change what it says, like what it says at the top right hand side, the TeamSpeak 6 server, and you can do advanced options and stuff to that effect. But yeah, that's basically how you create a TeamSpeak 6 server. And there we have it. We have officially made our TeamSpeak 6 server. Now, I am not a tutorials channel by what's means ever, but I am trying to be as informational about this because I know we are going through these trying times with Discord. So that being said, give it a try, give it a shot. If you have any troubles, leave it down in the comment section, because I will gladly be able to assist you. And if it's so severe, like, you know, maybe my tutorial was off for your computer or anything to that effect, let me know down in the comments, and I will gladly get a hold of you and either message you or private message you, and we'll get it resolved. Because while I did it, it might not be easy for you. You might not be willing to do it, or you did it and you're having issues still connecting. Just let me know. I have done all this to the best of my ability. If this tutorial helped for you, I really hope it did, because that was my goal, is to help and bring awareness to this. Because while TeamSpeak 6 might not look too appealing for many, it's still the features that are, it's so feature rich, and I just encourage just to explore it and go to anyone else, such as Flexer, Stoat also. TeamSpeak 6, you have a hidden gem, and I'm going to talk about that in the next video. I'll see you next time.